Hello, everyone. This is Armstrong Williams on the right side.
Armstrong.
Don't curse, speak English.
Armstrong.
Virtuous society.
Armstrong.
I dare you to listen.
Hey, turn it up. Hey.
Armstrong.
Get on the right side.
Armstrong.
Elevate your mind.
Armstrong.
I'm Armstrong Williams on the right side.
Yo, man, it's your boy K.O. And you're tuned into the most conservative of our brothers.
Armstrong.
The Armstrong Williams Show. Please give me a break. Grow up. And welcome back to the second edition, the second installment of this primetime special as we think about 2013 in this Fiscal Cliff. Logan, did you hear what Milo just said? He is responsible, but he said he is the new America. What did that unleash within you as you were listening to him, his eloquence?
Well, you know, first of all, I thought he was being sarcastic.
Clearly.
So I hope people realize that he was being sarcastic.
Thank you, Logan. That's why I had to come back to the second hour, man. But go ahead, Logan.
But secondly, you know, I think what he said in a sarcastic voice is what many of the liberals think, that you know, those Americans who are successful are, you know, they're successful because society and the government had made them successful rather than through their hard work. They, you know, we have a view, and we've always had a view in America until recently, that the role of the government was to give the individual the right to pursue happiness.
Thank you.
Pursue success. Okay. And to give them that opportunity. It's not to guarantee them happiness or to guarantee them success. But the individual had to achieve it himself, and the government basically should not get in the way. That attitude over the last 50 years or so has changed, and it's changed gradually but inexorably to what Milo was saying, that if you're successful, you really owe it to society. You know, it's not you that, you know, playing by the rules, working hard, saving, coming up with great ideas, being an innovator, being an entrepreneur, being a successful professional, going to school, you know, working hard, doing whatever you do to make a better life. Society just sort of laid it out for you. So therefore, you don't have responsibility for yourself. The flip side is that if you've come on hard times, it's not your fault. Okay, you know, society has created some pitfalls, and you just happen to hit those pitfalls, and it's just not your fault. It's not that you've made bad decisions. Even if you have made bad decisions, I mean, you know, the fact that, you know, you decided to not graduate from high school, have a child out of wedlock, and take drugs, it's not your fault.
It was circumstances.
It was circumstances.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know, Logan, and you know, the phones would. If we were live today, the phones would go off the hook. But you know, as I said, I went out this weekend to South Carolina to visit one of my dearest friends, 25 plus years, and it was his 61st birthday, and we flew out to South Carolina, and you know, I've downsized airplanes because of the economy. I don't need to fly 9 seats, so I have a little 4-seater that I also have. I took the small plane this weekend to go out to South Carolina, and I'm sitting in you know, flying out there, and my wife is sitting next to me in the co-pilot seat, and she, now mind you, my wife is a immigrant woman from South, you know, a Hispanic woman, immigrant parents, grew up in the Bronx, in the tenements of the Bronx, worked her way through college, working multiple jobs, excelled, started her own business in recent years. You know, this is a woman who's done it on her own. And so we're flying out in the small plane, and she's saying, "Man, I really miss the big plane. And this is really not that comfortable." And I'm sitting here, and I'm sitting next to her, and I'm saying, how did this woman come from the tenements of the Bronx, and now she's in one of 2 private aircraft that we have at the use of, and she is complaining to me about this plane is less comfortable than our larger aircraft, as we are spending our weekend flying out to visit a friend at his luxury house on the water. And I'm saying that's a testament. And this is somebody who I love and respect. But that is a testament to where our society has gone. We have gotten fat, comfortable, and lazy. We are not responsible. And anytime something is not right, we're looking for who we can blame it on instead of looking in the mirror.
Logan said something. We've talked so much about the financial issues today. I talked about the three pillars, the spending, the culture, and terrorism. I want to come back to the culture because Logan said something that really struck me. When I was growing up, I don't even know if I'd ever heard in my life of people marrying unless it was a man and a woman. I have to tell you. And that wasn't that long ago. And, my theme today, and I'm just so glad because I've got two of the best
please don't go here, Armstrong.
Oh, yes,
please
I am. Oh, yes, I am. Yes, I am.
No. Look, the plight of America is not due to gays and lesbians marrying.
I'm not going there. That's not where I'm going. You got to, no. That's not where I'm going. No.
All right.
No. Come on now. Come on. I want to know what has happened to our culture. I listened to Kim Kardashian celebrating being pregnant by Kanye West, and she's still married to her first husband. And her brother sent out a tweet saying, I don't know about you, big sister, but I prefer to have a baby when I'm married. And all the media is fawning and celebrating this as if it's a big deal, and everybody's ecstatic. Say, move over, Kate Middleton. And you ask yourself, what has happened to us, and what kind of message does this send our future generations? Does culture matter anymore?
That's not culture. That's not really culture. It may be the absence of it, but it's not culture. Look, since the beginning of time, people were having babies, married, unmarried. Marriage is a relatively new concept in many respects.
Not in America. It's been here since the founding of the Constitution.
Thank
America's
you.
200 plus years old. America is a baby on the timeline.
Oh, Milo.
I agree.
This is where Milo and I split. But go ahead, Milo.
All right. So I think we are misdirecting. Again, we're looking for something to blame our own indulgence on.
I'm talking about the impact it has on the fabric of the overall society, man. It costs to have these babies out of wedlock. It's okay if you're having these babies and you can take care of them. She is an exception. Are you kidding me? It's having an impact. When we talk about entitlements and cuts, sometimes what we got to do is reduce some of our choices that we make that are very expensive.
No, Armstrong. What we have to do is teach people to be accountable. I have two children. My daughter was the byproduct of my marriage. My son was the byproduct of me and a girlfriend. All right? And my son lived... I gained custody of my son when he was 8 after a 6-year legal battle to arrest custody of him. And I raised him in my house with my wife. He is the best big brother I could possibly have designed for my daughter. He could not be more attentive and more responsible and accountable when it comes to taking care and looking after his sister.
But why?
Because he had
you
a
were
father,
responsible. You were
he had a father
responsible.
who had a commitment to being responsible. And the fact that he was born out of wedlock did not make him a counterproductive component
You're
of society.
missing. Don't get defensive on me, brother, because that's
I'm not
what it's
getting
about.
defensive.
Oh, yes,
what
you
I'm
are.
getting at is that we got to stop pointing fingers at
You got it, because
issues.
look, most of these men feel like they have no kind of connection to that child. What are you talking about?
Well,
that is real.
Let's teach men about accountability.
That's all we've been doing for the last 10 or 15 years, but it's not working. Why?
Because you want to know something, Armstrong? Had I been married to his mother, I would have done the same thing. The fact that I wasn't married to his mother was irrelevant.
I'm not talking about marriage. I'm talking about responsibility and accountability here. You gave your child values. You put him in an environment where he would have a chance to succeed, not fail. That's what we're talking about. That is the American way. You didn't abandon your responsibility.
Milo, the fact is that if a child is born out of wedlock in America, they're about 5 times more likely to grow up in poverty than a child that's born in a marriage situation. The statistics are just overwhelming. There's
Logan, I know that statistic as well as you do, but I will tell you that the piece that is grossly wrong in that statistic is the issue is not wedlock. The issue is if a child is born absent two committed, loving adult parents. Wedlock plays no role in that.
Well,
it is the commitment of the parents to the care and provision of education and support of the child.
You and
I don't care. By the way, I don't care if the parent is gay, straight, something in between. If you give me two committed adults who are committed to maintaining the security and the well-being of that child is going to excel.
But the way our society has formalized that commitment over the last several thousand years is through marriage.
Formalized or conformalized?
Formalized it.
Again, being sarcastic. I don't think conformity to that institution in its biblical representation is the end all or be all to the security of our society. I think what we need to do is focus on giving me two loving parents, regardless of their gender, regardless of their sexual proclivity, regardless of their religious background. Give me two loving, committed parents that want to raise a child. That child is going to do well. Everything else is secondary to me.
I don't disagree with that. However, for most people, the way they formalize that commitment to their family and to their children that they bring into the world is through marriage. And
Logan, in America, 5 out of 7 marriages end in divorce within the first 10 years. 5 out of 7. That's 75% in my math.
Well,
why are you getting so upset, my Lord?
I thought it was closer to 50%. But even, let's not argue about whether, if somebody has a child, okay, I absolutely agree that you need a commitment of two individuals to raise that child. Okay, now,
ideally,
whether you need a formal commitment of marriage or not.
Hold that part. We're coming back to one last segment with our guests because they've been wonderful. Milo Pinkner, Logan Delany. We'll be back. Don't go away.
For more information on the Armstrong-Williams Show, please visit our new website at www.rightsidewire.com. There you can find his syndicated column archive, view live streams, and get your favorite conservative pundits' views on the current issues affecting the American people. From building wealth to foreign policy, stay connected with Armstrong-Williams and his colleagues at the all-new www.rightsidewire.com.
High Point University has experienced unprecedented growth during the worst economic disruption in decades. This growth is driven by a university that focuses on holistic education, on experiential learning, and on values-based living. At High Point University, every student receives an extraordinary education in an inspiring environment with caring people. See what makes High Point University extraordinary at highpoint.edu.
Anderson Brothers Bank, a family-owned and operated establishment that blends traditional personal service, local market awareness, and advanced technology to meet the financial needs of its customers. Visit abbank.com or call 843-464-6271 to see how they can assist you with your banking needs. Anderson Brothers Bank, celebrating 75 years of community banking, the way it should be. Stability right in your backyard since 1933. Join the millions of Americans who pursue one of our country's finest traditions, from hunting to sport shooting. Since 1871, the NRA has grown as a service organization involved in all aspects of shooting sports and is a proud defender of the Bill of Rights. Join today to begin taking advantage of exclusive membership offers and discounts, including up to $25,000 in insurance coverage. Contact the NRA today. Call 1-800-672-3888 or visit nra.org.
Life is full of unexpected changes. Everyone has potential to do wrong. And when they choose to do it, contact the Bucksell Group for your private investigation needs. TheBucksellGroup.com or by phone at 202-243-9746. Whether there's an instance of a cheating spouse, child custody, process service, or security, don't continue suspecting. Get closure so that you can move on with your life. Visit TheBucksellGroup.com now or call 202-243-9746. If you think it's happening, it probably is.
Where heads of state, sports, entertainment, and political celebrities meet. You're listening to Armstrong Williams.
Are we safer from terrorism? Have we made progress in that area? Is the world safer? Should America become more of an isolationist nation like what we once were before we entered World War II? Should we shut down many of our military operations around the world? Should we pull out of Afghanistan and other places? Milo, we'll start with you.
Well, you know my position on this.
The world doesn't know it.
If I were king, we would be the new Switzerland. You know, I'd put a wall up at the Mexican border. I'd put a wall up at the Canadian border. I would put a gate at both, gilded in pearl and marble. I would extract our troops from Europe. I would withdraw from the United Nations. I would tell Israel, we love you dearly. You know what? The folks over there don't like you. You can have Arizona or Phoenix or Nevada. Pick your state. Desert is desert. And I would immediately tell the Middle East, knock yourselves out. Kill one another. War, do whatever you want. Just don't cross this line, because if you cross this line, there'll be no dialogue. There'll be no United Nations. I'm going to come in and annihilate. And I would take a complete and well-documented isolationist position, because at this point, our alleged allies are not our allies, both in Europe and in the Middle East, but clearly not in the Middle East. The Jordanians are not our friends. The Israelis are our friends because quite frankly, they're the only bastion of reason in that region of the world, and they need us to be friends. The Saudis are not our friends, and the Pakistanis and Afghanistanis are not our friends either. So you know what? Let them have their own place. Let them go fight with India, fight with whomever else they want to fight with. Realize this is not a politically correct opinion, but enough supporting the world. We can no longer afford to be the global police, and we need to stop spending money we don't have protecting and providing for people who don't care for us.
Dr. Delany?
You know, I sort of, in one sense, I agree with what Milo is saying. In another sense, the world has changed very much in the last, 50, 100 years, and that is the world's become much more global. We can't cocoon ourselves off. We have too many economic, financial, and social ties outside of the United States, and you just can't put the gilded gates up at the Canadian and Mexican border. So I think one of the things that I think is important.
But Logan, you understand where I'm going?
Yeah, no, I understand where you're going.
Okay.
I understand where you're going, and I'm not unsympathetic to it. But one of the things is that I think we have to realign our strategic thinking globally so that, it is clear who our friends are and that we act in American interests. And I don't think we can become demilitarized because I think once you become demilitarized, somebody's going to fill the vacuum. And probably the state that fills the vacuum is not going to be a state that we like. I mean, the reason Switzerland can be Switzerland is because they have basically an American nuclear and military umbrella over Western Europe. Okay? They couldn't be Switzerland if they were located where the Ukraine is.
Do you realize, Logan, that there's not a country in Europe that is an alleged ally of the United States that could not be who and what they are if it wasn't for our global military presence?
I understand that.
All right.
I understand that. And
the biggest threat to America right now is China.
By the way, I'm not saying that we should be. I think there should be a cost to Europe for having us be their ally. I don't think we should do it gratis.
Thank you.
If you want America to help protect you, there's a quid pro quo. Whether that's a financial quid pro quo, we're going to give you a protection tax, which is what they used to do in the Middle Ages. Mm-hmm. If you wanted protection from the strong lord who was your neighbor, you paid him you paid him a fee. They called it tribute in those days. You paid him tribute.
Right.
It was basically a tax, a protection tax.
And it made sense.
But there are other ways of doing it. One of the ways is.
Logan, tell me something. Why is oil? Why are we paying $3 at the pump when we went into Kuwait and bailed Kuwait out when Saddam Hussein went in there? Then we went into Iraq ostensibly to get rid of the Taliban and Al Qaeda. And why are we paying more for fuel than when we did prior to going and helping these people who were going to repay us with fuel? Why have these countries not paid us back?
Well, by the way, Probably because, what's the Secretary of Energy's name? Is it Chu or something like that?
Yeah.
He'd like to see us pay $10 a gallon at the tax because that way we'd reduce our dependence on oil. I mean, part of it is that there are certain groups of people in America who like to see us pay more at the pump so that we'd be using green energy rather than brown energy.
I mean, I don't think the American people realize that the easiest way for us to control the strife in the Middle East is to stop buying oil from the Middle East. The Balkan oil fields have greater fuel deposits than the Middle Eastern nations in the aggregate have. So if we simply started pumping out of Oklahoma and Colorado the oil from the Balkan field and stopped buying Middle Eastern oil in its entirety, told Chavez to take his boat, nationalize Chavez's holdings here in the United States, call it a day, oil would be 50 cents at the pump, and the Middle East would collapse.
Hey, look, you're preaching to the choir on exploiting more American hydrocarbon resources.
Yeah.
I think that's clearly something to do. But the more general point that you're making is that I think America should follow a foreign policy, which is not the policy of promoting democracy abroad. It's not a policy of being nice guys. It's a policy of pursuing American strategic interests. And
precisely.
You have to define what those strategic interests are. But, if you want us to come and, get rid of your dictator, or if you're Kuwaiti and you want us to come in and kick the Iranians out after they come and take over, there should be a cost. You should be paying for that.
And paying dearly. Liberty is expensive. James Madison recognized that.
Liberty is expensive.
What are the other issues that we're not focusing on that we should be focused on because we're so mired in this fiscal cliff, Milo?
Mm-hmm.
Logan?
I think the terrorism issue is one where we really have to come to grips that there are people out there that do not like us, and there's nothing that we can do that's going to make those people like us. Nothing. So we just have to realize, as American people, that when you're the richest guy around and you live in a tough neighborhood, there are going to be people who don't like you and who are going to try to take what you have. And we have to be prepared to defend ourselves on that and take a pretty hard line about it and not worry about whether they like us or not, because they're not going to like us in any event.
We actually have to become okay with the fact that they don't like us. Not only do we need to learn how to ignore it, but we have to be okay with it. We have to be, that's cool. You don't like me? Fine. Don't darken my doorway. And by the way, while you're not darkening my doorway, don't ask me for aid. Don't ask me for fiscal support, and don't ask me for defense support. And by the way, anybody who does like me, make sure you don't mess with them because, they're in my camp. We've got this political correctness is you want to know the thing that has affected our culture more than anything, Armstrong? You and Logan have the issues of marriage. With you, gay and lesbian marriage and all these other non-related issues.
I don't have an issue with that. That's not my issue. It's an issue that is talked about. I raise issues that are talked. For me, I don't have an issue with it. People do whatever. That's between them and their creator.
Corrected. You don't have an issue with it.
No, I don't.
The issue that you should have, though,
is
the issue
PC.
that you should have is this insidious effort that we have in the United States to be politically correct and never offend anybody. You want to know something? If you come here from a foreign country and you're African American, you're Lithuanian American, you're Italian American, you leave that first one off because when you come here to become an American, either become an American or go home.
What Milo says is very important because one of the things that's happened in America from over the last 60 years is that 50 years ago, in the first half of the 20th century, when you came to America, it was called the melting pot. We melted into the American culture, no matter where you came from. That was the ideal. America was far from being
homogenation was the objective.
Yeah. Okay. Somehow over the last 20 or 30 years, they've talked about this mosaic. You're an African American, you're a Lithuanian American, you're a German American, a Jewish American. Okay. Well, the fact is that when we start hyphenating our Americanness with some other ethnic group or other identification, it's not we're an American African or an American Italian. It's interesting that we put the foreign designation
ahead of it.
Okay? And instead of being Americans first. Okay, we should think of our culture as being America first. And yeah, we have different places that we came from. We have different skin colors. We have different religions. But basically, the thing that holds us together is our Americanness and the ideals of America. And that has very much changed in a world where we're trying to be politically correct and made us much more balkanized. I mean, unfortunately, what it does is it creates situations where we're in today where we
Listen, 18 champions, gladiators, financial wizards, thank you so much for bringing in 2013 in the right way by telling the truth to the people.
Goodbye, Armstrong.
Goodbye. Say it with more enthusiasm, Milo. Come on, man.
Always a pleasure, Logan.
Thank
you, Milo. Take care.
Oh, my goodness.
For more information on The Armstrong-Williams Show, please visit our new website at www.rightsidewire.com. There you can find his syndicated column archive, view live streams, and get your favorite conservative pundits' views on the current issues affecting the American people. From building wealth to foreign policy, stay connected with Armstrong-Williams and his colleagues at the all-new www.rightsidewire.com.
America must change course if we hope to survive and save the American dream for our children and grandchildren. How do we fix Social Security and Medicare? How do we cut government spending? How do we reform health care? How do we simplify the tax code? The Heritage Foundation has a bold plan that tackles these tough problems using common sense solutions that leave partisan politics on the sidelines. Find out how we can save the American dream at savingthedream.org, paid for by the Heritage Foundation.
Hi, this is Armstrong Williams with an opportunity to own a piece of paradise in Nassau, Bahamas. Spectacular land prices, 8,000 square feet, 20,000 square feet lot, affordable prices, hilltop properties with views of the magnificent sea. Just call 242-677-3120 or 3121 or go to info@rightsidewire.com and leave your information.
Does your school, team, church, or charity need a new fundraiser? Do you need to work out of your home or part-time? Are you a small business that can use an additional revenue stream? Then you need Yellow Llama. Do you need affordable web services or tools to enhance your existing business? Are you a graphic artist who wants to create a revenue stream with your art but not get ripped off? Then go to www.yellowllama.com.
Join the millions of Americans who pursue one of our country's finest traditions, from hunting to sport shooting. Since 1871, the NRA has grown as a service organization involved in all aspects of shooting sports and is a proud defender of the Bill of Rights. Join today to begin taking advantage of exclusive membership offers and discounts, including up to $25,000 in insurance coverage. Contact the NRA today. Call 1-800-672-3888 or visit nra.org.
Where heads of state, sports, entertainment, and political celebrities meet. You're listening to Armstrong Williams.
Welcome back to the Armstrong Williams Show. Michael Judith, it has been hot this morning.
It has been. How you doing?
We're getting everybody's take on the Fiscal Cliff. What Fiscal Cliff? It still exists. I mean, they just keep picking the bucket. I mean, you're a man of the financial marketplace. What were your thoughts about what was just signed, sealed, and delivered by our elected officials?
Business as usual. They didn't do anything. It's like you say, they keep kicking the can down the road, don't you believe? I mean, what do we have now? and we have a little more higher taxes, which is the good news. It'll help pay for some of the things that are going on.
But you're assuming they're going to spend that money appropriately. Come on, Michael.
Don't put words in my mouth. I didn't say they never spend the money.
Come on, you said it was a good thing. Come on.
Well, that's true. So I misspoke. They haven't done anything though, and the enthusiasm that you see in the financial markets is just a function of people being caught on the wrong side of the trade. I'll tell you what we need is, we need to get back to reality and quit trying to financially engineer this whole thing and hope that it'll work itself out. What we really need is we need to start creating jobs. And now, okay, they've raised the taxes, right, Armstrong? So they've got a little bit more money. And you're right. Are they going to spend it appropriately or not? Or are they going to spend it on the same old stuff, or are they going to do something that can make a difference in this country?
Why don't you explain to us, in terms of your financial experience, what it is they should do and can do, but unwilling to do? Because they are more concerned about re-election instead of making the tough decisions. Because what we keep trying to do is make sure that Americans have to sacrifice the least to resolve this financial crisis that we have. We're taking the path of least resistance instead of the path of what is actually going to make sure that our grandchildren are not burdened with this debt, because our problem is debt and spending.
Yeah, and one of these days, even today, the way the financial markets have reacted to this is they raised interest rates on them. So that will exacerbate the problem. If they ever lose the ability to print cheap money, it's going to really, at some point, hit the fan. So you make a good point there. In my lifetime, I've reflected recently, and to me, I think one of the best presidents we've had in our lifetime was actually General Eisenhower. If you remember, what he did for this country is he put in an interstate system, something that created opportunity for the entire country at the expense of the taxpayers. And that's the kind of thinking we need in Washington, not crony capitalism.
What did they accomplish, Michael, in your opinion, if anything?
I really don't know, Armstrong. I'm really baffled because they still have the issue of the sequestration, which is 2 months away now. They basically raised taxes a little bit on the extremely wealthy, and they raised taxes a little bit on the the payroll tax went away. So everybody, somebody that's making $50,000 a year, their taxes just went up
to $1,000.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the payroll taxes that went away, how that would affect small business owners. Don't you think that's a good thing?
Well, I'm sorry, I'm not sure I'm clear.
You mentioned the payroll taxes. Talk about the impact that on small business owners.
You say that's a good thing?
I'm asking you if it's a good thing.
No, I don't think it's a good thing. You take the money out of the small business owner, they'll adjust their payrolls accordingly. Maybe there's one less person they can afford to hire, or if they've got to pay it. At the end of the day, the consumer pays everything. All taxes are paid by the consumer at the end of the day. It gets worked into a business model.
But that payroll tax threshold is for businesses that do how much in business?
I'm not sure, to be honest with you. I'm not an expert on that at all. You need to get somebody that really.
I think the big issue though is the reason why we've become so tolerant of the government is because the government is really us. I mean, most people's financials are in the same situation the government is in. They're looking for somebody. They're looking to get something for nothing. They're looking for a stimulus. And they realize that at some point, the Federal Reserve and others cannot continue to finance this debt, especially with the interest soaring on it.
Exactly. To be honest with you, I think we've just wasted 5 years. I think the central banks around the world have done a yeoman's job of holding together the financial markets. Obviously, everybody keeps being concerned that it's going to create inflation, but The truth, as we spoke about at the GOP convention, the number one input cost in any business is actually labor, and labor's cheap these days. So that's one of the reasons we haven't had the runaway inflation. But the day will come when things stabilize, things turn around, and we actually do have a full labor force. And again, it's very disruptive the way that they have to create, what I've referred to as a synthetic prosperity. Everything's on sale in the world. Everything. You go to, I go to shop. My daughter just bought a brand new smartphone for a penny. Everything's on sale in the world except for certain financial assets that trade at astronomically crazy prices. Somewhere or another, A is not equal to A here.
It's interesting when you say that your daughter got a smartphone for nothing. But you know what? There's always a price, whether they realize it or not, man. Hidden, unforeseen. There's a price that you pay. There's a price you pay in the long run of thinking you're getting something for nothing. And that is the real issue, is that Americans really think they're going to get something for nothing. And somebody's going to be left holding the bag.
Oh, I agree with you.
Somebody's paying for those gifts somewhere down the line, Michael.
I agree with you, Armstrong. Now you're preaching to the choir.
But who's paying for it?
Well, in the case that you take something like a smartphone, there's some company that's just trying to buy market share, so that on the other side of this, and at the end of the day, either their stockholders will or won't, benefit from the particular strategy that they're deploying. Right now, they think it's a good strategy. It's going to be interesting to see how the next couple of weeks pan out, because I truly believe a lot of this conversation around the financial cliffs and the way it's affected the financial markets has been nothing other than a distraction of what the real issue is going to be as we start to hit first quarter earnings in next week. Next week, Alcoa starts to talk about what's really going on in America again, and nothing has changed. Nothing in Washington has changed anything from changing. Nothing has really changed. So, the day will come when the music stops, and when it does, nobody's going to be happy. Everybody's going to be crying for the solutions. They always make fun of the people, the perma bears or the perma bulls, saying, a stop clock's always right twice a day. But at the end of the day, like you say, Armstrong, there's got to be reality based behind this stuff. Somebody's got to pay for it. One thing America's got to do is take responsibility. Everybody's got to take responsibility for their own decisions instead of saying, government can bail me out of this one.
Obamacare is the official law of the land, Michael Judith. We will now begin that arduous and tedious process of unmasking many of the causes hidden deeply within that massive bill. In a decade from now, there will be significant buyer's remorse. The cost will affect not only consumers, but the healthcare providers as well. And so there's no such thing, going back to this free lunch, as a free lunch, and that applies to healthcare as well. And so either the quality of care must decrease significantly for the masses, or the availability of care must decrease drastically. Which is going to happen?
Well, we could go down the path of what the Europeans have done for health care. I mean, if you think about it, Armstrong, one thing to reflect upon on something, and healthcare is a perfect example as we institute it now. When we look back in history, if you look back to the socialist platform of 1925, everything in that socialist platform in 1925 is now public law in America. We've absorbed everything, absolutely everything. You can look it up on the internet, you go down a list, and all the different items are there. So it's just a matter of how we're working towards, and what we're working towards as a society. We may find that we just absorb the health care and it's expected to be. I agree with you right now. It's very burdensome and we don't even want it. But, we'll be talking about this, Cliff. Once they resolve all these issues around this, Cliff, in 2 months, let's say they actually do it, it'll only be a matter of weeks before they're talking about Kim Kardashian or Lindsay Lohan again. It's quickly the American public. You're a very intelligent person, so you stay focused on the real hardcore issues that make a huge difference structurally on the long term. But that's not what the average American's doing anymore. I think the last election proved that. And the fact that we continually elect the same people to do the same thing over and over again and continue to create business as usual is just mind-boggling to me.
Hold there. We're coming back. Michael Judith is our guest. Don't go away.
For more information on the Armstrong-Williams Show, please visit our new website at www.rightsidewire.com. There you can find his syndicated column archive, view live streams, and get your favorite conservative pundits' views on the current issues affecting the American people. From building wealth to foreign policy, stay connected with Armstrong-Williams and his colleagues at the all-new www.rightsidewire.com.
Anderson Brothers Bank, a family-owned and operated establishment that blends traditional personal service, local market awareness, and advanced technology to meet the financial needs of its customers. Visit abbank.com or call 843-464-6271 to see how they can assist you with your banking needs. Anderson Brothers Bank, celebrating 75 years of community banking, the way it should be. Stability right in your backyard since 1933.
High Point University has experienced unprecedented growth during the worst economic disruption in decades. This growth is driven by a university that focuses on holistic education, on experiential learning, and on values-based living. At High Point University, every student receives an extraordinary education in an inspiring environment with caring people. See what makes High Point University extraordinary at highpoint.edu.
Whether it's their impact on prison guards, law enforcement officials, business executives, employees, or marriage and relationships, Lorette is dedicated to changing the individual and institutions around the globe. Lorette's diverse network and training courses can help provide you with the tools you need to both wisely and confidently lead, manage, and supervise yourself as well as others. Lorette Business Network, a proven system for achieving success in your business and life. Please visit their website and begin this life-lasting journey with Lorette today. www.lorette.org.
To travelers along the road of life who have fallen asleep at the wheel, to the many who woke up in time to avert disaster and get back on the righteous path. For the ones who crashed and survived and now adhere vigilantly to a virtuous and righteous path. Finally, Armstrong-Williams' much-anticipated new book, Reawakening Virtues, gives his insights into these daily challenges and much more. Reawakening Virtues is available in bookstores and at Amazon.com.
Where heads of state, sports, entertainment, and political celebrities meet. You're listening to Armstrong-Williams.
Welcome back to the Armstrong-Williams Show. Michael Judith, there are a lot of uncertainties still with small businesses, aren't there? And that's not a good thing, is it?
Absolutely not. Everything that's being done, I think, protects big business. What I consider, old business models. So, no, you're right. It's not helping the small business person. They're the ones that are struggling the most, and they're the backbone of this country. We definitely need to do more to help them.
How do we help them?
Good question.
I don't remember the last time you hesitated.
I'll tell you. It's frustrating in the current environment we're in right now because we're not getting the trickle down. We're not getting the trickle down effect in the capital markets. Last time we were talking, technology is a good place to talk about small business because they tend to ramp up quick and easily. And the last time we were talking about the whole Apple Samsung case and how that actually stifles innovation. And if we look at how the financial markets have reacted to that, we see that they're definitely not rewarding the behavior of Apple these days. That particular space is so bogged down in litigation over patents, over some of the most ridiculous things. And that stifles and restricts the ability of small businesses to flourish. The best way, and Central Florida does real good at this, to answer your question more directly on the how to help small business. Central Florida, we have a huge number of small businesses, and we have an infrastructure here that has been created by the local governments. It's partnered with the university systems. It's actually partnered with private enterprise like the Disney company, as well as Progress Energy and a few other big businesses. And we've created an entrepreneurial center to help small businesses and support them as far as giving them ideas, on how to structure and run their businesses. And it's all free services that they deliver to these people. And at the same time, they pair them with financial institutions that we have here locally that might be able to help them in the small business lending arena, and almost every aspect of support that otherwise costs big business millions of dollars they have, we make available to small businesses for free here in Central Florida. And it's a great place to start when you can start your small business and you're not, worried about having to pay huge legal fees or huge consulting fees, where you have first-class people that have been there and done that that can actually help and support the system. In fact, one of the things I think even at a national level we could do, and I've kind of mentioned this on your show before, this country has in place something now that we've never had before. We have, and it's backed by people like the Gates Foundation, the Kauffman Foundation, Google. We have a national incubator system that's been put in place. I believe the headquarters are out in Texas or whatever. I know that University of Central Florida's incubator in and of itself is one of the leaders in the country. And I think there's more or less 11 or 1,200 quasi-government and university-supported incubator systems for small businesses nationwide right now. And that is a system that should be and more supported than it is. The entrepreneur, the small businessman, they don't have a voice in Washington. They have nobody up there lobbying for them like GM does. In fact, when we were at the convention, Armstrong, one of the things I noticed when I came back, and I actually talked to some friends about it and everything, is here you are at this convention, and you see all the delegates and all the different companies, and the unions are represented, the big military contractors are all represented, the car companies, you can go down the list. But some of the companies that are just hitting it out of the park these days, the Microsofts, the Googles, the Apples, you didn't see them at the convention. They were too busy out doing their business.
What are we going to do about the overregulation in this country that is continuing to stifle, especially small business owners?
They need to change a lot of the stuff. A lot of it is really ridiculous, and it needs to be handled. No question about that. What are your thoughts on that as far as how do you solve that problem?
You need to start with Dodd-Frank. Something has to be done. about this mortgage crisis in this country, and people, and the economy is not going to turn around until we find a way to turn around the housing market. And I know we keep getting these signs that tell us that the housing market is turning around. But the question is it really turning around? And what is the definition of turning around?
Well, as far as solving, one of the things, though, from solving the mortgage crisis, I mean, look at 30-year interest rates right now. Somebody can mortgage, if somebody were to buy my house tomorrow, they can get a mortgage on it at 3%. That's pretty favorable. Sometimes, when you get a bubble like we had in the real estate market, it's more complex than a bubble in the stock market. A bubble in the stock market can deflate overnight. That just nobody shows up, it's gone, and everybody walks away. You get a bunch of real estate, you get a bunch of homes built places that nobody even wants or needs or cares about them. I mean, that's a whole different bailiwick. I assert when you come to the real estate problem in the country, the problem in real estate in Florida is going to be different than the problem in Washington, D.C. Actually, you guys probably won't have a problem because government always grows, and so you guys will always have buyers and sellers. The problem with real estate in Mississippi is going to be different than the problem with real estate in California as we go forward. We can't, Washington has to and tries to address things with a broad brush. But the truth of the matter is there's so many local issues that were affected by what just happened globally, whether it be Europe, Australia, Japan, China, or right in our backyard, whether it's a small town in Mississippi. Their problems are completely different than the problems that the small town in Mississippi has a completely different set of problems than the problems that we have here in Central Florida or in Florida in general. So it's there's not one fix, there's not one stop or one quick fix that fixes everything as far as I'm concerned. This is my opinion, and we're all entitled to it. And that's what's so great about this country. It's like the education system. We have a broken education system in this country, broken in the way that many underprivileged people don't get what they could have, given the system that they have to work in, and given that there's a whole new dynamic in technology that can help support new and better ways of educating people. I personally, if we get into the whole conversation about how education can change and help us, I'm not one that advocates that you completely get away from the teacher-student relationship. In fact, I believe that's an invaluable relationship, but it needs to be augmented with these new methods and the new ways of getting information to people that are currently available in the world that are only getting to a select few.
What is good about the economy, and what do you think could be some good prospects for us in 2013?
In my opinion, the truth of the matter is, in my opinion, one of the things that's great about the economy is the 75% of it that's working is hitting on all six. From the standpoint of new discoveries and new technologies that are being found in healthcare, in medicine, in solar research. There will be a day. So we don't have the old economic model doesn't work for a lot of the stuff that's coming online. There's not scarcity. When the sun can power the earth 10,000 times more than it needs, and the biggest problem, the problem with Solidyne or whatever that company was that the president backed that went bankrupt, was the fact that the whole industry is being affected by Moore's law, and so the efficiencies are doubling now, and the costs are coming down as fast as the microchip. So there will be a day when solar will be ubiquitous, and it's not as far away as a lot of people think.
Well, look, I can't thank you enough for joining us for today's edition, man. It's always a pleasure talking to you, and also allowed us to call you a little earlier than what was scheduled. All the best to you, and we certainly look forward to exposing your voice and your ideas and vision for this country more to our audience, and we thank you for your willingness to do it.
Okay, Armstrong. Well, I really appreciate being on today. And it's a great way to start out 2013. All the best in 2013. Honestly and truly, for people that just keep their eyes open and take responsibility for their own lives, I think it's the beginning of some of the best times we've ever lived.
All the best to you, my friend. Take care.
Have a great day.
You too, now.
Bye.
And thank you for joining us for this edition of the Armstrong Williams Show.
High Point University has experienced unprecedented growth during the worst economic disruption in decades. This growth is driven by a university that focuses on holistic education, on experiential learning, and on values-based living. At High Point University, every student receives an extraordinary education in an inspiring environment with caring people. See what makes High Point University extraordinary at highpoint.edu.
Join the millions of Americans who pursue one of our country's finest traditions, from hunting to sport shooting. Since 1871, the NRA has grown as a service organization involved in all aspects of shooting sports and is a proud defender of the Bill of Rights. Join today to begin taking advantage of exclusive membership offers and discounts, including up to $25,000 in insurance coverage. Contact the NRA today. Call 1-800-672-3888 or visit nra.org. Anderson Brothers Bank, a family-owned and operated establishment that blends traditional personal service, local market awareness, and advanced technology to meet the financial needs of its customers. Visit abbank.com or call 843-464-6271 to see how they can assist you with your banking needs. Anderson Brothers Bank, celebrating 75 years of community banking, the way it should be. Stability right in your backyard since 1933.
Life is full of unexpected changes. Everyone has potential to do wrong. And when they choose to do it, contact the Bucksell Group for your private investigation needs. TheBucksellGroup.com or by phone at 202-243-9746. Whether there's an instance of a cheating spouse, child custody, process service, or security, don't continue suspecting. Get closure so that you can move on with your life. Visit TheBucksellGroup.com now or call 202-243-9746. If you think it's happening, it probably is.
America must change course if we hope to survive and save the American dream for our children and grandchildren. How do we fix Social Security and Medicare? How do we cut government spending? How do we reform health care? How do we simplify the tax code? The Heritage Foundation has a bold plan that tackles these tough problems using common sense solutions that leave partisan politics on the sidelines. Find out how we can save the American dream at savingthedream.org, paid for by the Heritage Foundation.
Does your school, team, church, or charity need a new fundraiser? Do you need to work out of your home or part-time? Are you a small business that can use an additional revenue stream? Then you need Yellow Llama. Do you need affordable web services or tools to enhance your existing business? Are you a graphic artist who wants to create a revenue stream with your art but not get ripped off? Then go to www.yellowllama.com.
The sweet potato pie. Even the keenest taste buds will tell you the best food on the planet. Large enough to serve you and small enough to know you. So get to Henry's at 5431 Indian Head Highway, Oxon Hill, Maryland, or give us a call at 301-749-6856.